Amen. Please be seated. So we just heard that after the resurrection, the third appearance of Jesus, and the disciples had gathered together following the resurrection, and they'd done what? They had gone back to fishing. They went back to doing what they knew how to do best, which is the way a great many of us deal with disappointment, or grief, or disorientation when it comes our way. We just go back to doing what we know how to do best. There is no blame in doing the best you can. The wonderful thing about John's Gospel is that there never seems to be any blame on offer. Jesus meets people repeatedly, wherever they are, however confused they are, however misdirected they are. Jesus meets them where they are, and it's a sign that Christ strives with each one of us, wherever we are in our lives, however recalcitrant our hearts. Those disciples aren't having much luck on their fishing trip, are they? And if you're a sometime fisherman as I am, that is just never fun. You don't even have to be out all night to not have fun when you're not catching fish. So someone on shore shows up and seemingly in an amused voice tells them to cast their nets on the other side. Now, do you remember the last time these disciples heard that? It was when the Lord first called them away from their boats. Cast your nets on the other side. They caught an abundance of fish. And they decided to follow Jesus. So here is this voice that does it again. And they cast their nets on the other side, and they have a huge haul of fish. And the beloved disciple John realizes it is the Lord. And he tells Simon Peter, and Simon Peter puts on some clothes and dives into the ocean and swims to where Jesus is. So once they all make it to the shore, the Lord says, "Come and have some breakfast." The Lord meets us wherever we are, whether we are believing or whether we are disbelieving. The Lord is there for us when we are not even there for ourselves. The Lord is at the breakfast table, preparing sustenance for us before we even understand that we are hungry. Did you notice today that Simon Peter has two names? Now, first he was called Simon before Jesus met him. Later, Jesus gave him the name Peter, the rock. But in this gospel, he's back to two names. Simon Peter. Simon Peter is a man in between. He is a believer, but not quite a believer. He is a disciple, but not quite a disciple. All at the same time. And Jesus meets him where he was. Now, when I was a kid, if my mother said, "George Frederick," using two names, I knew I was in trouble. And if she said, "Come down here right now, George Frederick Woodward III," I was in real trouble. Simon Peter probably, when he was called Simon Peter, understood that he was a man in between and had a choice to make. Maybe all of us should have two names to be used interchangeably, depending on the state of our Christian conversion on any given day. One day we might be not believing quite so much, and another day full of fervent faith. There's the story of the pregnant woman who was in a horrible accident and was taken to the hospital in a coma. She was in a coma for 6 weeks. While in that coma, she delivered twins. And after 6 months, she awoke in the hospital, and the nurse said, "Don't worry. You have delivered twins. Your brother has them at home with his wife. They're caring for them. Your brother has named the children." And the woman said, "My brother is an idiot. I hate to hear what he called those kids." "Well," says the nurse, he called the little girl Denise. And the woman who had awoken from the coma said, "That's a beautiful name. I love that name. What did she call the other one?" And the nurse said, "The nephew." Or at least one groan. So it is around the charcoal fire that they gather. And that's evocative, that charcoal fire, because you remember it was at a charcoal fire where Peter denounced Jesus 3 times. Around a charcoal fire, after breakfast, Jesus sees to Peter's restoration. Peter had denied Jesus 3 times, and Jesus interrogates Simon Peter, the man with 2 names and 2 hearts, a man divided against himself. And he says, "Simon, do you love me more than these?" Now, here's where we lose the story, because we speak English. And the story was written in Greek. And in Greek, there are a couple of words for love. And so what Jesus says is, "Simon, do you agapas me?" And Simon Peter answers, "Lord, you know that I philo you." So the word agape in Greek means a deep and broad and high form of love, the love of God. And the word philo means affectionate friendship. So Jesus asks Simon if Simon loves him with agape love. And Simon answers not with that word for love, but with the word that means friendship, philo. So Jesus asks Simon Peter twice, "Do you agape me?" And the third time, Jesus meets Simon where Simon is able to be. And he uses the word for friendship. "Do you philo me?" Our Easter season is 50 days long. It took 50 days for Christ's resurrection to leaven the circle of followers. A sign maybe that it's going to take a while to leaven our rocky hearts. That it's going to take a while to leaven the human project. This is not the kind of stuff that people make up when they want to impress others with an irresistible gospel. The enduring power of the Gospels rests in their compelling honesty. The writers present a continuing, confusing situation. This was the 3rd time that Jesus had appeared to his disciples, and there is still something ambiguous about the appearance. Some way in which Christ remains hidden, even as Christ is revealed. Now, we meet somebody else with 2 names today, don't we? In the book of Acts, our patron saint, first called Saul, or as Patty pronounced it correctly, Saul. First Saul and then Paul. Saul is a pious, intolerant, self-righteous persecutor of people who do not see the world the way that he does. God has to knock him off his horse along the way to Damascus to get his attention. And when attention is given, Saul eventually becomes Paul. A good name is our best possession. A good name is hard to earn. And Christ meets us where we are, wherever that might be. And he calls every one of you by name. And perhaps the name by which you are called is not yet complete. Perhaps it does not yet encompass your full potential or your fully actualized self, any more than Simon adequately expressed who Peter would become, or how Saul did not yet express who Paul would become in the fullness of his actualization. God discloses to us ambiguously in the course of our ordinary days while we're working and fishing and hoping for some breakfast. And at first we might not pay much attention. But then at some junctures, maybe when we have caught nothing in life and we are mired in our routine because that's all we know how to do, we will find that our nets are so full that we can scarcely get to shore. Something brings us to an awareness, and we become really attentive that we are standing around a charcoal fire of our own shortcomings, and God has met us right there. The resurrection appearances of Jesus were not private affairs. They occur as the disciples gathered together in a room, walking down a road, 500 making Eucharist in a field, on the shore, Tiberias. It is always ambiguous when Christ appears to them. God works with us in community, not in isolation, and that is why God has brought you here today. And today, you are asked, do you love me? And we may not hear quite right. We may confuse the word philo for the word agape or something like that. But nevertheless, the question has been put to you, do you love me? However you answer, the Lord has met you ambiguously today, so that doubt and faith and choice are present for you. The Lord meets you by whatever name you bear, wherever you are in your process of conversion. Whoever you are, wherever you are, the Lord gives you the same command given to Simon. Feed my lambs. Tend my sheep. Rise to the duties of community. Rise to the duty to feed and tend others, and to bear the living Christ into a troubled world. Tend those who are learning to give attention to the things of God, and tend to those who do not believe that God even exists. And if you can't love them with agape love, then love them with tender friendship. And if you can't love them with tender friendship, well, do the best you can. Tend the people beside you in the pew who won't be anything like you. All of us gathered here on the shore, waiting for some breakfast. Feed my lambs, tend my sheep. God's task for us is the same task given to Simon Peter while he was still very far short of his best self. It took 50 days for the resurrection to leaven the community of his followers. How long will it take for the resurrection to leaven your life? Follow me, says Jesus. I will meet you wherever you are. I will call you by name. Follow me. Tend my sheep. Feed my lambs. Amen. We stand for our prayer.